2 years ago, Equipex hit Botswana big time. No one knows for sure, but it's estimated about 200 million pula was lost. Tens of thousands of people. And the thing about Equipex that's often overlooked is that it was specifically targeting Botswana. People often still think that the scammers are some teenagers in an internet cafe in Lagos. Scammers are the mafia. It's organized crime. It's very, very professionally run crime.
It's amazing. Anybody can be scammed. We are all very vulnerable, especially these predators that use the fact that in Africa, we're still poor, we're still vulnerable, we're still desperate for money. But to bring someone who's dedicated a good part of his life, not just him, but with his wife, Kate, they've dedicated their life to consumer protection. And their company is called Consumer Watchdog, and it's going to talk to us about how ready are we, the challenges of how we can protect ourselves from this. Welcome, Rich.
Welcome. It's a real privilege to be with you. People are facing an awful lot, a tremendous amount of abuse and exploitation. In fact, it's getting worse. Now, it's a constant battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil, between the consumer protection bodies and the scammers and the abusers and the cheats and the liars and the frauds that are right now doing their best to take people's money away from them. And it's not just scammers, it's businesses in shopping centres.
Businesses that have governance bodies, and
businesses that have
constitutions,
and have city council licenses and are registered with SEPA. Most companies are run by decent people. There's a whole lot of them in some industries that are not, where they have more than their fair share of shady characters. The cell phone dealers are one. Burial societies are another.
Burial societies. That's the last thing you need, isn't it?
Well, yeah, literally the last thing you need. When City Council and then Francistown City Council and Lobatse and Kwaneng, all the other councils were going around inspecting supermarket kitchens and restaurant kitchens and saying no, and taking pictures and publishing them. You must have seen the pictures.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was disgusting, some of these places. Now, they've done that before, but this is the first time they did it with cameras and they posted it all on Facebook. And that's what consumers needed to see. And I genuinely believe it's one of the best things that's happened to consumers in 20 years.
Welcome to the GrowthWell Podcast, where we tap into a well of knowledge, innovation, and leadership to fuel Africa's growth. Here, we explore thought-provoking insights and expert knowledge that empower individuals and businesses to thrive across the continent. Whether it's personal development or professional advancement, our conversations inspire action and impact. This is GrowthWell, where ideas flow and growth begins. Let's dive in.
Okay, welcome to GrowthWell Podcast. We are here again, and this is very, very unique. And I have been one of the victims for what we're going to be talking about today. And also it's been very topical recently in South Africa, where some kids died after eating food from a spaza shop somewhere in Soweto. It was very sad for the parents and for the community there. I've also been, it's amazing. Anybody can be scammed. I have been scammed here in Botswana through, I don't want to mention the name, but it was through these clubs where you subscribe. They are clubs which allow you to go for holidays. So I avoid mentioning the name. And I couldn't get out of the contract. And Richard will help me because I actually contacted them about this. And they said, you signed the contract, and actually paid for many years. And my wife really had a good time laughing at me for the scam. So we are all very vulnerable, especially these predators that use the fact that in Africa, we're still poor, we're still vulnerable, we're still desperate for money. So in terms of the digital economy and so forth, we are very vulnerable. But to bring someone who's dedicated a good part of his life, not just him, but with his wife, Kate, they've dedicated their life to consumer protection. And their company is called Consumer Watchdog, and he's going to talk to us about how ready are we, the challenges of how we can protect ourselves from this. Welcome, Rich.
Welcome. It's a real privilege to be with you.
Yeah, no, great stuff, man. We've been wanting to do this for a while now.
Yeah, my only complaint, as I mentioned earlier, is that having looked at your YouTube channel, every one of the preceding participants has been so much smarter than me. So I'm going to feel a little inadequate, I think.
You're trying to make sure that you lower your standards.
Absolutely. I'm lowering your expectations.
No, great stuff. And we usually like to start on a light moment. And I just thought, you've been in Botswana for quite a long time. And I like your work because you are very much involved with Kate, your wife, Richard. And I just like you to share, having, originally from the UK and now staying in Botswana for such a long time. What has been very special for you and your family being in these warm climates of Bots in Africa?
I think there's so many things. It was the 15th of April, 1997. It was the very first day I set foot in Botswana.
All right.
And I'd been working for an American software company, and I did various projects for them. And I got a call
here or in
around in Northern Europe, in the Far East, and in the USA. I got a call from my former boss saying, had I heard of a country called Botswana? Because we've just signed a deal with the government. And I said, I have actually heard of Botswana. And not only have I heard of Botswana, I used to share a house with someone from Botswana in London.
Ah, interesting.
So I knew a little bit about it. And he said, well, you're going next week. And that was April 1997. And I toed and froed probably 10 or 12 times until 1999, where I thought, why don't I just stay? This is better than anywhere I've been before. I was very lucky enough to travel around the world, but this was the place that I fell in love with. I fell in love with... there's all these cliches about the tranquility and the quiet.
The peace.
That's true. But I actually completely fell in love with the people I was working with, who were government officers, some of them now really senior government officers, who were some of the, despite what we often say about ourselves as a country, the most hardworking, the most dedicated, and the most professional people I'd worked with. Genuinely so. And it's also Botswana. We should put this on our banknotes and on the front page of the main page of the website. It's the best place in the world to bring up young kids.
Really?
Yes. It's a safe environment. It's peaceful. It's an outdoor environment. I think we forget. Though my relatives who live in London or in the UK, their kids don't run around in fields. They don't run around chasing monkeys. They don't have dogs.
That's true, exactly.
This is a brilliant place, the best place I've ever known to bring up a family.
Do you think we undersell it sometimes?
I think we have it's overwhelming how pessimistic we are as a country and how we do ourselves down. Yes, we've got 1 million problems, but other countries have 1,000,001 problems. Yes, we've got, particularly now, we're facing a dire financial situation. Your previous guests have you've spoken about this.
Sure.
But our problems are so much better than the problems many other countries are facing. Look, if you can bring yourself to do it, go onto the news and see what's happening in other countries in the world, and then compare and contrast our situation. Yes, our times are tough right now, but as a country, as a people, we've got a lot going for us. And I think it's easy to overlook that and to forget that. The nature of my work in consumer protection and customer service and so on, it's very easy to be negative and ignore all the fantastic positive things that happen.
Yes. It's interesting you say that because I studied in England as well.
Yeah.
And I did engineering there. When I finished, I actually had offers in the UK. And I just looked at the lifestyle. I was like, I stayed in Southampton, and guys used to. One time I was leaving very early in the morning to go to London. It's a 1 hour's train, and there were guys in the train. They were snoring and asleep, basically commuting from Southampton and a pool going to London, and then in the evening they commute back, and then the pace of everything was so. When I used to come here for holidays, people would say, "Why are you walking so fast?" Because I'm just used to it.
I spent 9 or 10 years living and working in London.
Yeah.
And on the rare occasions I go back and visit the UK, I spend a bit of time in London, but two of my sons are living there. And I think, this is a terrible place to live. There's 9 million other people in your way. Yeah. And commuting is such a drag.
Commuting is...
it is so... I'm a big believer, if you're young, go live in a big city.
Yeah.
When you don't notice there's 9 million other people
Sometimes
there.
you don't know the difference, isn't it? If you grow up in that environment.
And you meet, if you do get the chance as a youngster, go and live in one of the big, great cities in the world, because you meet people from every part of the planet, of every single type and religion and shape and size and belief systems.
The diversities, yes.
It's an amazing experience. But then after about a decade, you think, no, this is a bit much. This is not good for my mental health. I need to go somewhere where we get as much done, but we just not quite as stressed by it, not quite as anxious about it.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, when I came back, I was like, when you stay there, I think actually you get older faster because of the pace.
Yeah.
It's like in Botswana, you might have our challenges, as you said, but it's you every day is a day. You know, you get to realize time and
I've lived and worked in a number of major cities around the world, in London, in Dublin, and in Manila in the Philippines, and spent some time in Joburg as well. Do you know how lucky we are? Well, I complain that it takes me sometimes 10 or 12 minutes to get to the office from my home. Sometimes on a really bad day, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It would take me an hour and a half on a good day in London.
Yeah.
In Manila, you sometimes just have to turn back.
Yeah.
In Dublin, it's terrible. Or used to be terrible.
Yeah. And Johannesburg is also just as bad. Yeah.
So again, I know we've got a major set of problems, particularly now as a country. Obviously, money being one of the key ones. And I'm not trying to belittle the challenge a lot of people face, but it's also worth, if you can, just reflecting sometimes on it's not as bad as we sometimes think.
No, sure.
There's so many good things in Botswana that we need to focus on. The sense of community, I certainly see in the work we do. There's a huge community of people that are supporting each other when it comes to dealing with scams and when it comes to dealing with customer service. We can talk about that because I think it's a really powerful thing that we often overlook, that is the community we have that is supporting itself and each other. I think it's a really powerful thing.
And it's very cultural, isn't it?
It is deeply ingrained.
It's deeply ingrained, It's not something that takes too much effort.
Yes, and it's not just a cliche. We don't just always bottle this and bottle that. No, it genuinely does exist. When we talk to people about the consumer, the scams and so on, and the abuse of consumer rights and service that we see, people are genuinely shocked. How can this happen in this country? How can we be so cruel? And it's not foreigners doing it, it's us doing this. How can this happen in this country? Yeah. People are genuinely shocked.
Yeah. Rich, you almost have 250,000 followers on your Facebook page. I mean,
we will hit 250,000 either later today or tomorrow morning.
Is it?
Yes. I checked before I came.
It very close, isn't it?
It's 249,930.
Yes, and this is the community also that you're talking about around
on Facebook,
Watchdog and Consumer Protection.
It's our Facebook group.
Now, how did this all start? I mean, this is not just work like you used to work for a software company. This is activism. So what was the bug that hit you to go into this, and how did it all start?
If I'm going to blame one industry, it's going to be microlenders. If you cast your mind back, those of us who are old enough will cast our mind back to maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago. There were something like 1,000 microlenders around the country.
Just Botswana, small as it is.
Yes. And none of them was registered. None of them were regulated. And they were charging vicious interest rates.
This is not Motelo. You're not talking about Motelo, which in South Africa is like Stockveld.
Yes.
Yeah, this is microlenders.
Yes, microlenders. Operating from offices or from car parks.
Okay.
It was all very shady. And the interest rates they were charging were just astronomical. And their approach to debt management was more like the mafia than it was a responsible microlender. And we got really upset by this. And Kate went on the radio with Shombi Ellis, who I was been working with. Yeah. Then I started working. I met Mesh Mweti, the editor of Mechi at the time. I started writing a newspaper column about this. And then it sort of gradually grew and grew and grew. And the turning point, I know people are very negative about social media. I'm negative about social media. But it was when we started our Facebook group. And I remember when we hit 1,000 members.
How way back was that?
Probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
No, maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
I remember hitting 1,000, being so excited. Tomorrow we'll hit 250,000 members of our group.
Wow.
And this is one of the things I said earlier, and I think it's really important to note, is that Consumer Watchdog now isn't just us providing advice. It's 250,000 people that are providing advice to each other. Who are posting complaints, who are posting observations, posting ideas. We do some surveys as well. We did one, I posted a survey a couple of days ago, which we've done every year for the last few years, every couple of years, on the perception of racism in customer service. How much of a problem is racism? And that starts a huge conversation about how prevalent is it? Just out of interest, 82% of people, and 1,000 people voted in this survey, 82% of them think racism is a very serious problem.
Is it?
In customer service in Botswana.
Okay, in customer service, yes.
Okay, that's their perceptions, but so maybe it's not that bad. 82%?
That's pretty
Maybe
high.
it's only 80%. It's still
Quite high.
an
And perception still
incredible problem.
counts.
Yes.
Perception.
And people have been posting stories that this happened to me, this happened to me.
Oh,
And maybe some of them are wrong. But it's still a huge proportion of people who think that is an issue. And I think it's one of the things I like about what has evolved with Consumer Watchdog is it's an area for people to discuss things that really matter. Like in 2025, racism is still that big an issue? Well, it seems like it is. And I think it's about time we had more conversations about this and come up with ideas as to how we're going to tackle this. And that's just one example. But I think it's that community of 250,000 people is a very good place to start having these discussions. And that 250,000 involves people of every background. Now that Facebook has been very democratized, because any device can connect to it pretty much. We've got government ministers in our group. We've got their driver in our group. We've got every part of the country, every type of person. And it's a real privilege just to be part of that community and see the level of support that people provide to each other. So when someone posts a complaint, before I get a chance to respond, 20 other people have responded saying, you should do this and you should do that and you should complain to this person. It's because the people in the group are all very passionate and very, most of them are sane. There's a few crazy ones. You know who you are. Yeah. I'm looking at the camera. But it's a very powerful example, I think, of how we as a culture have communities that support one another.
Within that community, just define what is Consumer Watchdog. Is that a society? Is it a private business that you own? Just to separate it from the community and why it exists. Just tell us about that.
You can check it on the SEPA website. It's a business name owned by the company that Kate and I run, which is a market research company. Okay, it's a market research.
Yes,
we do market research. A whole lot of customer service work as well. But we registered the name, also the Consumer's Voice, because I write a column in the Voice every week. But it's just to register the name, stop other people using it, and other people have tried. You can do a consumer something else, but don't do Consumer Watchdog.
But I've followed you and Kate, and then the passion is just amazing from both of you. That's why I've always wondered, where do you get this activism to really fight for consumers? And the purpose of this podcast, Rich, is to impact knowledge, is to contribute to uplifting of people in Botswana and Africa. And I just want you to tell us why they should listen.
Well, I think first, before I answer that, I want to talk about this podcast. And because it's something I've been wanting to see, things like this, for such a long time.
Yeah.
Hopefully smart people, having smart conversations about important matters.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that I really think we don't do enough of, is having proper arguments. Next time we do this, I'd like two people on who disagree. So that you can have
exactly. Take each other on.
Who can have a reasonable, civilized argument. Arguments aren't bad things. Arguments are good things. Arguments make us better. Fights make us bad.
Absolutely.
A proper argument where people will engage with each other, explore ideas, explore their experiences, and differing ideas, I think, is what makes a society even better.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So I really think it's a fantastic thing you've been doing, actually getting smart people on, and then me, to talk about things they know about. And I urge people, go on the YouTube channel and just see the quality of people that have been on here, and then me, expressing in detailed expert opinions on things that really, really matter. Yeah. And I think particularly now, as I keep on saying, we're in a really difficult situation as a country, financially. It's even more important now that we explore those ideas, because who knows what that next idea might be.
Absolutely.
It might be something that fixes the problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah. The question around consumer protection, in terms of why they should sit up and listen to this. Why is it such an important subject? Especially, as I said at the beginning, when you have a developing continent like Africa, like Botswana, we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable to these predatory behaviors in terms of fishing, in terms of fake goods, in terms of this. I mean, of late, I don't know, government officials were going around checking food that was rotten in shelves. They went into the kitchens.
Yep.
I don't know how that's relevant, but just why is it such an important topic for us to be abreast with?
It's an important topic because I have a deep and profound belief taught by my mother, in fairness and decency and doing with the right thing. And people are facing an awful lot, a tremendous amount of abuse and exploitation. I heard today from a guy who got a call saying it was a call from Choppies, and he's won 6,000 pula. All he had to do was hand over these details, and before he knew it, he handed over his bank details. And they
Before he won, he ended
this money that doesn't, these winnings that didn't exist.
Okay.
And he's now complaining because he's now lost a lot of money from his bank account. Now, he foolishly gave away his banking credentials. Yes, it was foolish. He shouldn't have done that. But he's a victim of a crime. We wouldn't blame a mugging victim for being mugged. So I don't think we should blame someone who fell for a scam like that for falling for a scam. It's unfair to blame people for being the victim of a crime. It's indecent, it's unfair, and it's a bad thing to do. And I think as all right-minded people need to fight against evil. Whatever your spiritual or religious position is, we need to fight against people doing evil things to our neighbors and our family and our friends and our workmates and total strangers, because that's how society works. And I think it's not going away. The problem of abuse is not going away. In fact, it's getting worse. Now, it's a constant battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil, between the consumer protection bodies and the scammers and the abusers and the cheats and the liars and the frauds that are right now doing their best to take people's money away from them. And it's not just scammers, it's businesses in shopping centres.
Businesses that have governance bodies, and
businesses that have
constitutions,
and have city council licenses and are registered with SEPA. I'll give you an example of one that was from about 2 days ago. A person came to me on Facebook saying they'd put a deposit down for an iPhone 16 Pro, the nice one. They paid a deposit of 7,200 pula in January. They still haven't got their phone. And it's now September.
They paid a deposit. So they haven't finished paying for it.
But they paid the deposit. By about June, they were saying, "Where's my phone?" Because they'd been told it was 6 to 8 weeks for the phone to arrive. So they put a deposit down for a phone that wasn't even around yet. Anyway, they were then promised they get paid by I think it was the 5th of September, just a few days ago. Then they came to me when the store, which is in a shopping centre, it's got premises, they come back to them and said, "Okay, we're going to refund you. But we're going to refund you in installments over the next 15 months.
Crazy.
And this person came to me saying, "What can I do?" And I said, "Well,
that's unacceptable."
Okay, I'm not going to say the words that first occurred to me because we'll get banned. I didn't say them to her either, but my message to her was, no. This company took your money 8 months ago and are now treating it as an interest-free loan that they're going to pay back until December 2026. Absolutely unacceptable. They say they're having financial problems. Well, I don't care, frankly. I care about this consumer who gave you a lot of money many months ago, and now you're saying you're going to pay her back until the end of next year? What guarantees do we have, first of all? This, by the way, is the same company, the same store that I counted we've dealt with 5 times before. On one occasion, someone bought a phone from them on lay-by over like 3 months, paid the final payment. Where's my phone? Oh, we sold it to someone else. Another time, they refused to repair a phone that someone had bought for them under warranty. And they said, "We're not going to repair it because you didn't bring us back the receipt." Even though they brought the same phone back for another repair a month beforehand with the receipt. And on 3 occasions, they've clearly sold second-hand phones as new. iPhones. And anyone selling iPhones should know, you go to the Apple website, you can put in the serial number,
and it will tell you whether it's new,
when
whether
it was
it's a
first
second.
purchased.
Okay.
So you can see it was purchased 3 years ago. It's easy to do.
But not the case with other phones. iPhone is the one that's...
I'm an iPhone user.
Okay,
maybe
so
you can do that with Samsung. I don't know.
Okay.
But you probably can. Please let me know if you can. But this store is a serial abuser of customers. And I'm afraid that industry, I do know a couple of cell phone store owners who are the best of people. They're hardworking. They treat their customers with respect. They offer really good deals. I'm not going to advertise them, but I know a couple of them quite well who are decent, honourable people running a good business. But that industry is full of crooks.
Is it?
Yes.
The
cell phone dealers.
Is it?
Yes. So many of them are selling phones that are refurbished. Again, you can just check this online. You can look at the model number on an iPhone. If it starts with this letter, it's genuine. If it starts with that letter, it's a refurbished phone. But they're selling them as new. Now, there's nothing wrong with selling a second-hand phone.
Just let the customer know.
Second-hand phone.
Sure.
1,000 people are off. Cool. Everyone's happy. But this is the sort of thing that many consumers are facing. That's just one industry. There are other better regulated industries like banking and insurance and so on. But they still make mistakes. And sometimes they're not as good as fixing those mistakes as they should be. Now, before I say anything, I have to reiterate that most businesses in the world, but most businesses in Botswana, are run by decent people who are trying to treat their customers with fairness and decency and respect. And if there's a problem, they say, bring it on. We'll fix this problem. Thank you for letting us know. We'll fix it nicely.
Very honest. And
then the customer often comes back to us saying, wow, they fixed it so nicely. And they apologized. And they sent me some chocolates or whatever. But most companies are decent, run by decent people. There's a whole lot of them in some industries that are not, where they have more than their fair share of shady characters. The cell phone dealers are one. Burial societies are another.
Burial societies. That's the last thing you need, isn't it?
Well, yeah, literally the last thing you need.
Yeah.
There's one particular burial society that threatened to sue me personally for talking about them in the media, having let down. I had the names and addresses of like 50 or 60 of their victims. They just didn't pay out. People had to go to micro-lenders to borrow money to bury their children.
When they had been subscribing
When they'd been subscribing for years to these burial societies. Gravestone manufacturers. Please. It's
Your
scandalous.
scam is very related to very wrong things, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Graveside?
The people making those gravestones.
Yeah, stones.
Some of them are perfectly respectable, decent people doing their very best.
Sure.
Some of them, no. They need to be shut down. And the list goes on and on and on with some industries that have more than their fair share of problems. Now, you mentioned the city council and restaurants and supermarkets. I was at the Consumers Fair a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I went up to the Haberonian City Council stand and shook their hands because that was one of the best things that's happened for consumers in decades. When City Council and then Francistown City Council and Lobatse and Kwaneng, all the other councils were going around inspecting supermarket kitchens and restaurant kitchens and saying no, and taking pictures and publishing them.
Yeah.
You must have seen the pictures.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was disgusting, some of these places. Just revolting.
Because this unannounced, just bombing into a shop.
Yes. Now, they've done that before, but this is the first time they did it with cameras and they posted it all on Facebook. And that's what consumers needed to see. And I genuinely believe it's one of the best things that's happened to consumers in 20 years, the time I've been doing this, because it was a regulator, an authority going in and saying, this is completely unacceptable. The pictures, I was scrolling through them and not just a little bit of uncleanliness, filth and disease and cockroaches and just filth. It was genuinely horrifying. But as consumers, we needed to see that. And we needed to see that the regulators whose salaries we pay and whose buildings we pay to put up are doing their job. So bless you, the various councils around the country doing that. I want to see more, but well done. And I think, again, one of the things we're seeing at the moment is, I must shout out to my friend Gideon Nkala, who's the new CEO at the Competition and Consumer Authority.
Competition, yeah.
He was my editor at Mechi back in the day. And he's back now at the CCA. And it's a good time for consumers. Gideon's back. And
he knows the game.
Yeah, and there are more and more people coming into those roles now who are there to make things happen. So I think at the moment we're living in quite a good time for consumers, but the challenges we face are still immense.
Just, I mean, you've got a few decades in this industry now. Apart from the cell phone shops, I mean, I still have this trauma over paying that. I still calculate how much money I lost without any benefits. But what example still gives you a headache over the years that you say that was just the...
These holiday timeshare schemes.
Yeah.
There was one of the first organizations that threatened to sue us for whatever.
Yeah.
Because we'd highlighted that this particular timeshare scheme was a lifetime contract.
It was. It was.
And
Nancy just kept laughing and said, I told you to always ask me.
Yeah. What is this lifetime contract?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there is no contract without an exit clause.
Well,
and they just said...
I spoke to a friend at the time, just to clarify my understanding. He was one-time judge. And he said, every contract in existence you can get out of. You can get out of a marriage contract.
Correct.
You can get out of an employment contract. You can get out of a banking agreement. A lifetime contract is a silly concept. Every lawyer will just laugh. If it reaches a court, the magistrate will just laugh at you for saying that there's a lifetime contract that you can leave to your children as well. No, not acceptable. We spoke about this in public, and we had them on the phone sending their lawyers round to knock on our door saying, you will stop this. And we said, no. But that's a good example of just... They've sort of gone away now. I think those industries now have modified their behavior a little bit.
Yeah.
Timeshare is still a very scary thing to get into. I really encourage people not to do that, particularly in the days of Airbnb and traveling.
Yeah, I don't take their calls anymore. They still call me, there are quite a lot of them, isn't it, globally.
And they will
they offer you something nice. It's like, you can come free for the first one, this nice hotel in Durban, come in. It's like, please.
And don't believe their threats that they'll take you to court, because they won't, because they know the magistrate or the judge will just start laughing at this ridiculous concept that you can't get out of a contract. Even if you say, forget the money I've paid, I just want to go, and they still say no. No, not acceptable.
The challenge is that the problem does not seem to be getting better. I mean, you talk about the Botswana situation. I've just got some stats from just a combination of Zambia and Kenya. They've had 70% increase in fraud to the consumers in those spaces. And this is almost like double the developed world type statistics. So are we losing the fight? Do you feel like we're in control? And we'll talk more about the protection mechanisms that are required to protect our consumers. But is it spinning out of, especially with the digital economy and phishing and all those type of scams that our people are vulnerable to?
I think it's one of those battles that will continue for eternity. Scammers are one of the oldest professions. Ever since we've been trading things, scammers have existed, cheats have existed. The digital issue now, the massive increase in technology and the use of technology is being exploited by scammers. People often still think that the scammers are some teenagers in an internet cafe in Lagos. Scammers are the mafia. It's organized crime. It's very, very professionally run crime. And they are ahead of us. It's a constant battle to keep up with the scammers because their use of technology, they've been using AI technology since before you and I got to play with it. The conversations you have online on WhatsApp with scammers these days, you're not talking to a human being. You're talking to an AI bot. Because they can just have 50 of them, 100 of them, 1,000 of them, 10,000 of them running simultaneously. They don't need the call centers full of human beings anymore when you've just got my laptop can do it. It is such an ongoing battle. And I think one of the challenges we face in particular as a country that's being exploited is that there are plenty of people in Botswana who are fully embracing modern technology, they've got the access to the suitable tech to actually play with AI tools, for instance. But we have a huge digital divide in Botswana. We have a geographical divide. We have still one of the highest Gini coefficients, the income disparity that people like Keith Jeffries can talk about with more expertise. But we have a geographical divide, we have a tech divide, we have a consumer education divide. There are plenty of youngsters coming out of college these days who understand, yeah, they get it. They're not immune from the problem, but our grannies, the less exposed to modern technology, they get a call from someone saying they're calling from Choppies or from Orange saying you've won a prize.
And they get very excited because they expect everybody to be honest, isn't it?
And very often, these guys are smart because they don't say you've won 1 billion pula, you've won 6,000. You think, okay, that's I've heard of people winning prizes of 6,000 pula.
Yeah.
It's plausible. If they offered 1 billion, people would laugh at them. So it's a constant battle of catch up, and the divisions we have in Botswana still, the geographical divisions, the economic divisions, the educational divisions we still have, are particularly acute. And you see that in, for instance, the scams that we see. 2 years ago, Equipex hit Botswana big time, between January and May of 2023.
Tell us more about Equipex.
Equipex was basically a Ponzi scheme. And it basically involved you paying in relatively small amounts of money, and you clicked on a button on a website or on your phone, and your money miraculously increased. And then you encouraged more people to join, and it was a classic Ponzi scheme. Mm-hmm. It was a scam. There was no money coming back to people, little dribs and drabs.
But people jumped in.
People jumped in. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people jumped in. No one knows for sure, but it's estimated about 200 million pula was lost. Tens of thousands of people. And the thing about Equipex that's often overlooked is that it was specifically targeting Botswana. Mm-hmm. They weren't targeting South Africa or Zimbabwe or Namibia, us. They'd previously tried, the very same people had tried the same scam, I think they called it Atlantica in Namibia. Mm-hmm. It crashed after a week or so. Just didn't work. They came to us and exploited us again. And you see this with so many scams. Was it 10, 12 years ago? There was one called Eurex Trade, a very similar Ponzi scheme. Again, specifically targeting Botswana. There's one called Tickets Limited that collapsed about 2 weeks ago, specifically targeting Botswana.
Same thing.
And I think what the scammers know is that we have a history as a country of falling for these scams. So we're the easy targets. We're the low-hanging fruit.
Why are we? Is it because of the disposable income, relative to other countries? Or I always say having such high inequalities make the people on the lower end very desperate because they want to. So anything that goes that can just up my.
Well, it's interesting that 10, 12 years ago when it was Eurex Trade, they were targeting high-income earners. They wanted 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 pula. I met people who lost $1 million plus. They were heard from my bank, one of their customers who lost 2 houses and a car. Wow. Or it might have been a house and 2 cars. I don't know. But someone really affluent. Equipex was specifically targeting low-income people. Yeah. Because the tech is now better, you can spread 10,000 messages, 100,000 messages just as quickly as 10. And I do think it's a lot to do with inequality. I don't want to be too much of a red flag waving socialist, but inequality is an evil. Inequality brings out social disturbance things like...
It's corrosive to society.
Inequality and unemployment and poverty are nasty, pernicious, toxic, corrosive influences on a society. And I do think that's part of it. I talked to a sociologist and anthropologist about it, but what I see is people who are so desperate sometimes and then become so mixed up in it, it becomes a religious experience. And I'm treading carefully because I don't want to offend anyone's feelings, but very often Equipex and Eurex Trade and other scams are being sold from the pulpits in churches every Sunday.
Really?
Yes. There's one particular preacher who goes from church to church. He's on his 8th or 9th scam right now. And it appeals to many of the same benefits that people see from community and religion on a Sunday. It's community. It's a group of people coming together with a shared set of values, and they're bonded somehow. They become very vulnerable to someone in authority
recommending something, saying this will bring riches.
Yes, the Lord wants you to do this. I've heard stories of people saying they've been told the Lord wants you to join Equipex. And people are vulnerable because, exactly. It's even more offensive than just approaching someone on the street. Yeah. It's because you're approaching people who at that particular time are vulnerable to this. And the sad thing is if you keep on talking about Equiplexus, that lasted for about 5 months in 2023. And tens of thousands of people, people have seen the news items about how some of the money was seized. The stolen, I forget how much, but 20, 30 million or something was seized in bank accounts.
Okay.
And one day that'll get redistributed. But who does it go to? If 200 million was taken in total and we got maybe 10% of it left, who decides?
Who decides who goes to where?
Yeah. Is it the first victims, the last victims? Do we distribute it evenly? Do we do it in proportion to how much people lost? My view in particular with Equiplexus is that, yes, we should share that money out fairly so people get something back, but no one who promoted it should get a single tabby back. If you are one of the people recruiting other people, you shouldn't get your money back at all, and you should be prosecuted. And Section 9 of the Consumer Protection Act, which is one of the great things about our law, is Section 9 of the Consumer Protection Act talks about scams. For the first time, scams are actually illegal.
Yeah.
And Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes are specifically
part of scams.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know what they've been thinking or drinking when they wrote the law. I approve of it, but unlike every other country I've seen, we outlaw promoting these scams, but we also outlaw joining them.
Okay.
Being a victim is a crime. Actually, the words it uses knowingly join.
It's a crime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Even if you're a victim.
If you knowingly joined the scam, you knew it was a scam and you joined it.
If you knew, so you have to demonstrate that you knew that it was a scam.
There was enough people during Equiplexus for those months, including me and Mbafira and other people saying, no, stop, this is a scam. People have been on the radio, people have been on the TV, people have been in social media saying, this is a scam. People knew.
But still some joined.
Yeah, people were openly saying, I know it's a scam, but I want to be in before it collapses. You don't get your money back. Yeah. Because you stole money from other people.
Yeah.
And you are the one who should be paying it back. You're the one who should be facing, is it 3 or 5 years? I think it's 5 years in prison and a fine of 100,000 pula, or both, for promoting or knowingly joining a scam. And the number of people so far who've been prosecuted under Section 9 of the Act, I think, is 0.
Is it?
Not one.
Is it because most of them are actually not local? Because these are platforms which are...
Here.
Is it?
Here. Now, Equiplexus was, according to the intelligence I've been given, was run by Chinese organised crime.
Okay.
You might have seen on the news there was a Chinese gentleman who was extradited from Tanzania.
Yes, recently.
Yeah, and he's facing prosecution. But he's one guy. Standard organised crime thing. Well, they have one fall guy, but the money's still in our bank accounts and we're spending it on yachts and champagne and caviar.
Yeah.
But what we need, certainly when it comes to the scams, is we need some prosecutions. And I'm not saying 5 years and 100,000, but the people who promoted Equiplexus actively, knowingly, we need to see them in court too.
Yeah, but let's start with, because now we've quite detailed talked about the why and the landscape of fraud and scams and goods and that type of thing. Now let's talk about like your company, the structures and government. There needs to be structures within the companies themselves as well in terms of protection. So just talk to us about what's in place and what should be in place now to protect the consumer, including, as you said, the education, because as we said, our people are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because half the time, it's just like an old lady who comes from Komokasitwa, just gets told you want 6,000 and he goes on a bus to come to Gaborone to come and, So do we have adequate, especially that it is a growing trend. It's not getting any better. I
think the one thing we do have, one thing we've always been very good at as a country is writing laws. Daphne Matlakala, who I know, who used to be the head of legislative drafting.
Yeah,
wrote some
general. Yeah.
Brilliant laws. They're written so clearly under her leadership, and still to this day. They're written so simply. All you need is some basic English and you can understand the laws, even the complicated ones, because they're beautifully written. We have so many laws. We've got a lot of laws, probably too many laws. We need to trim them down, perhaps. But we've got lots and lots and lots of laws.
There's no problem with the laws.
No problem with that. What we have a problem with is enforcing them. Now, everyone in the country knows it's illegal to speed.
You still speed.
No, I never speed. I'm always 1 kilometer an hour below the speed limit everywhere, honest.
Yeah.
But we don't see enforcement. I don't see adequate enforcement. Like I said, Gideon, bless him, he's back at the Competition and Consumer Authority. He's getting there. NBFIR are doing a pretty good job in public education. I respect them for that. But what we need to see, and Gab City Council, Francistown City Council, and so on,
They
like
also
I said,
come into the game.
Brilliant. But we need to see a lot more of that. We need to see some prosecutions. We need to see a lot more activity. We need to see we got so many regulators in Botswana, and we don't see them doing nearly enough. And there are structural problems that have been put in place. Like, for instance, many of the regulators won't accept a complaint from a consumer unless the complaints procedure within the company, the bank, for instance, has been exhausted. So until you've gone through the complaints procedure for bank
You can't
XYZ,
go to the regulator.
Bobs will say, the Bank of Botswana will say, thanks, but you need to go and do another 3 steps. Ignoring the fact that one of the key things that's changed in recent years is the power of social media. Complaints procedures. If your company has a complaints procedure, tear it up. It's gone. I have a picture somewhere on my phone I took in the Ministry of Health many years ago on one of those pull-up banners with the official Ministry of Health complaints procedure. And it started at the top with complaint to like the clinic manager. If you've got a problem, go see the clinic manager. Then you go to the DHMT or whoever, 10 steps. And step number 10 was complain to Office of the President. Now, I've worked in government in Botswana. You've worked with, you know it's going to take 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
You'll give up after stage 6.
That's true.
Because you lose the will to live, or you might not live long enough. That's just absurd. What many organizations haven't accepted is that in 2025, there's one step in your complaints procedure. I complain to one person in your organization, or I go on Facebook. Which do you want? And more people, I'm partially to blame for this, but I don't mind at all. People can come straight to Facebook. And I get complaints from people saying, why do you allow people to come to Facebook and complain about their bank or their insurance company or their telco or their supermarket when they should have gone to the manager? It's 2025. Consumers will complain however, whenever, and wherever they want. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You can put in place a procedure which says, oh, you've got to go and see the manager, and then you've got to do this, and the regional manager, and then the CEO.
Yeah.
Not interested. It's 2025. And a whole bunch of organizations, and people haven't cottoned on to this yet. The landscape has changed. Facebook, I still maintain Facebook is 49% evil, 51% good. Most days I feel it's that way around. But if you have a complaints procedure, if your organization is so rigid that you can't cope with this and you don't embrace this, you don't deserve to be in business. It's 2025. Everything has changed. The consumer is now in charge. So the regulators, back to your original point, we've got plenty of regulators, but they're not doing quite enough.
But before you go to the regulators, are more and more people going to social media for complaints? Because I know, I'm a board member with one of the banks, and we are very sensitive to what people put on the social platforms about the bank. And it's because there will be very, very speedy response.
Yes.
If someone comes, because it goes viral very easily. Yeah. And like you said, even the regulator is going to pick it up because it's everywhere.
Yeah. I got a message from one of the regulators recently saying, because they were taking too long, someone had complained to me about one of the regulators taking too long to fix a complaint about one of the companies they regulate. And the regulator said, my colleague says, why have they gone to Consumer Watchdog? Because they wanted to. Because you're taking too long.
Exactly.
And okay, sometimes consumers are unreasonable.
Yeah.
Just today, I passed over a message, a complaint to one of the microlenders from someone who contacted me. There'd been some allegation of fraud. I don't know what the situation is, but I passed it over to this lender. And I messaged the consumer saying, I've emailed them, let me know if they contact you. I got a message back from him saying, they haven't contacted me. 6 minutes after I sent the message. Now, I'm not a great fan of microlenders, but they need more than 6 minutes to investigate a problem. Later the same day would be fine. So maybe sometimes consumers their expectations are unrealistic, but nevertheless, it's what the situation is. It's 2025. You can't ban people going to Facebook.
Yeah.
I spend I spend the right amount of my life managing a large Facebook group. And I typically only allow through about 20% of the posts because there's adverts, there's pornography, there's totally irrelevant material. But those complaints about organizations, why can't they be in the public? As long as people aren't being racist or threatening violence, if it's a fairly expressed good faith complaint that's educational, and where someone deserves the support of a larger group, like the 250,000 people we have in the group, let it through. It's worthy of public debate. And the thing that organizations often forget is that consumers love organizations that fix problems. So if the bank you're part of a board of, if they have a complaint and they fix it really, really nicely, with a suitable apology, and they fix the problem and they explain and they say, this won't happen again because we put in place this procedure, that customer will be your most loyal customer. They'll be more loyal and they'll respect the bank more than if the problem had never happened.
Not been there before, yeah.
I'm not saying companies should make problems happen, but I genuinely believe it is actually the truth that a complaint is the best possible thing that can happen. Because what's the alternative? They don't complain. They just tell everyone they know.
Yeah. And you just see churn in terms of just customers falling off.
Yes, and where you don't get new customers because they heard from you that you had this experience. Oh, I'm going somewhere else. The very best thing, I've been a complainer for a long time, and then hopefully in a constructive way. There's a hotel I stayed in Dublin 30 years ago, the Hibernian Hotel in Ballsbridge in Dublin. They made a complete mix-up of my check-in, but their recovery was outstanding.
You gave an executive room in the end.
No, they did. The interesting thing they did, which was really sweet, was I was staying there for about 2 weeks, and they had a really good restaurant in the hotel, but the menu changed every 2 weeks. And I was going to miss the new menu. So the chef came and spoke to me on instructions of the manager saying, Mr. Harriman's going to be your guinea pig for all the new dishes.
Oh, nice.
30 years ago. I'm still talking about the name of the hotel.
Exactly, yeah.
I can almost give you the road it's in.
Yeah.
Because that is a recovery. I felt like royalty. And it didn't cost them anything. But a good recovery, it's one of the key things organizations
should do.
You should reward people for complaining. I don't mean cash, but a sincere thanks. You've taken the time to complain about my organization. It is really helpful. We've learned this experience. We're going to fix the problem. We'll make sure it doesn't happen again. We'll become a better organization. And again, another sincere thanks. You've just bought the loyalty of a customer for life.
That's true. That's true. What are you also quite traveled nicely. And the idea is to get our standards enforcements to a level that can be on par with sort of global trends, if you may. And right now in Botswana, we just had the Data Protection Act, because currently a lot of people are worried about their data in terms of how it's used. It's a big anxiety for a lot of people. And then we also had the Cybersecurity Act, which was just passed. Are those all good developments in terms of your space? And is there anything else that you believe needs to be strengthened to ensure that we are on par?
I think the Data Protection Act, we're one of the last countries in the world to have a Data Protection Act. When I started my career, my first real proper job was in 1985. And one of the first things I was working in a hospital in London, implementing the Data Protection Act that had been passed in the UK in 1984. 1984.
Really? That's like almost 40 years ago.
Yes. We're 40 years late. Okay, not quite. But it's been an urgent requirement. It's really valuable. And finally, we've done it. And I'm working with a whole bunch of organizations who are implementing it. And it's brilliant, finally. What we need, though, is a whole lot of education to those of us out there, we consumers, on what it actually means for me. Because people are misunderstanding. We haven't got the education right. I've been approached by people who think, I can say to my bank, no, you mustn't hold that information on me. But the bank needs to hold information on you. Otherwise, they don't know what your balance is. If they don't see all the money going in and coming out, and
they only give you the statement. They give you a statement.
there's nothing wrong with organizations holding and sharing data. The Data Protection Act has been misunderstood by a lot of people. It's not that complicated conceptually. It just says only hold the data you need to hold it responsibly, share it responsibly, and be totally open about what you're doing with it. So tell me as a customer, this is who we share your information with, this is how we hold it, this is what we do with it, and you can see it, and you can correct it if it's wrong. You can't say, don't hold data on me, but I still want a bank account. Because the bank's going to have to say, thanks, but goodbye. The cybersecurity thing, yes. I mean, there's powerful things. I know some of the people working in the police service on this, and they're really empowered now. They can actually do a lot of really clever work that they should be doing. But the key thing that's been missed is consumer education. Now, some organizations are doing some, but not nearly enough, because we've got 2.5 million people that need to be taught about what this means for them. And we do a little bit different, and there are plenty. CyberSmart, David Mopang and his team, wonderful work they're doing out there in schools. Probably right now, David and his team are teaching school kids about cybersecurity and their parents. There's fantastic work going on, but we need a lot more of it because there's only one David and one his team. There aren't that many of them. So there's some work going on, but we need a whole lot more actually teaching people about their rights and how they need to behave and how they need to protect themselves. Like this guy that called me earlier with the Choppies scam. He's a smart guy, but he was persuaded by a smarter scammer to hand over his banking credentials. He should have been told every week by his bank, every month, whenever, a little SMS or a WhatsApp message or an email saying, don't forget, if this happens to you, don't believe us. Don't believe it. Call us first. So that's where we're lacking. That's where we're falling short, is in the quantity and quality of education on all of these issues, on data protection, on cybersecurity, on just basically protecting yourself against the scammers that are out there and the crooks and the fraudsters. That's where we really are falling a bit short.
In terms of education.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're getting more and more digital. And I don't know in terms of digital consumer rights. And also, we're going to get more e-commerce platforms where people are going to order stuff and communicate with China and everything. How's that taken care of in terms of this opening? And I'm just wanting to appreciate from our chat whether we should feel a bit comforted and assurance that the structures are in place. I mean, you and Kate are right at the heart of it, and I know you work closely with government around the enforcement and the regulation. And the idea is, should the audience feel like there is? I mean, you said the laws are there, but the big thing is the education. But is there progress, or we still anticipate that people will still be scammed? And as you said, the scammers are getting more complicated. Yeah, I mean, around cybersecurity, I know there are billions that get, especially continents like Africa, where it's very easy to scam people.
I think it's still getting worse because as I said earlier, we're playing that constant game of catch up, and mustn't be forgotten that scammers are smarter than we are. They're really good at their jobs, and we need to, as a society, put in place more and more mechanisms to prevent them. Now, the greatest weapon you have against AI crime is AI. Policing.
I didn't mention AI. I mean,
use AI.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, I first encountered AI as a concept at university at the age of 18, a lecturer called Mike Harris, who was a researcher into perception and how computers could see shapes. That's how old I am. But it's in that 40-something, 42 years intervening, nothing really happened with AI for most of us until about 2 or 3 years ago. And suddenly the lines were in steady, and shot up.
Exponential, yeah.
It's an exciting time to live if you're interested in technology and interested in AI issues. I saw an interview with some expert on AI, and he was asked, is this exciting or terrifying? And he said, yes, both. There are some fantastic opportunities for AI to be really useful for people and for society in general. There are some real threats to come from it as well. And none of us really know yet what's what. So I think certainly we're facing greater threats from the emerging technology. as a country, we, I think, are lagging behind because of the things we mentioned earlier, the geography,
Sure.
the divide, the various divides we have, that maybe some other countries are ahead of us because they already have the e-commerce things. There are plenty of countries you go to where I traveled to the UK earlier this year and did my usual thing of going to the ATM as I arrived, getting some cash, just for small expenses. 2 weeks later, I still had exactly the same amount of cash in my wallet. Hadn't used cash at all.
Because it's all swipe
It's
everywhere.
tap,
Some
tap,
of
tap,
them
swipe,
actually
swipe,
more,
swipe,
yeah,
tap, tap,
yeah.
tap. The public transport in a whole lot of cities in the world,
So,
this does it.
and the phone.
Yeah. You just swipe your Apple Watch across the reader and you get on the train. Now, we're a long way behind that.
But are you saying that's good when it comes to consumer protection?
I think for now, it's actually
making
good.
you more vulnerable.
Yes. I think we're less likely to be digitally scammed and abused because we aren't as digitally advanced yet. Maybe that gives us a little bit more time to put in. So when we do have Apple Watch scanners on a combi or in choppies, we might have prepared ourselves a little more. The pessimist in me thinks we often take way too long to get things done in Botswana, like the Data Protection Act, 40 years later than other countries. I think we need some new urgency to actually to catch up technologically so that when we do start using these clever tech, things that will make our lives better, we're already protected. And we can learn from the other countries around the world. We don't need to, I'm not suggesting we steal everyone else's policies, but we can copy and paste from other countries that have done these things. Because, like I said, the scammers, the threats out there are smarter than we think. And they're using more and more AI. And I urge people to start using AI because you can use it for free. You can use ChatGPT and you can use the stuff on Google, and perplexity.ai is really good. And these great tools for getting information and getting ideas. As a business, there's no excuse anymore for, I've got no ideas, boss.
Correct, yeah.
Go to ChatGPT and don't copy and paste, but use it as a conversation. I tried to explain to someone how I use ChatGPT and Perplexity. Imagine you just hired the greatest intern ever. That really smart intern who knows stuff and who works 24/7 and is free.
That's what the agent does.
That's what these AI tools can be like. The smartest intern you've ever met. But you don't get what an intern does and make it policy. You get what an intern does and then you think about it and you digest it and you work on it. I'll give away a secret. For one of our clients, we needed to have certain company policies. And we didn't have them because we're a very small company. And I developed 7 or 8 policies in about an hour.
Using AI.
ChatGPT wrote them for me. And then I sort of polished and adapted it to make it sort of specific to us and our work.
You still need the human to humanize it.
I spoke to a very senior lawyer recently about a particular legal thing. And I jokingly said, I'll get ChatGPT to write it for me. And he said, no, you can't do that. So I did. And he saw it and he went, I'm out of a job.
Couldn't believe it.
I'm out of a job.
Yeah. But AI in the end is still on the dystopia side, is still a threat when it comes to potential scams and protection of the consumer.
I think it's a societal threat. It's a societal benefit potentially. You hear all the propaganda about it'll help cure diseases and so on. And I think it's a societal threat in that, for instance, I know a lot of organizations that are seriously considering scrapping their call centers because you can get an AI to do that.
Yeah.
I was shown a demo a few months ago of an AI call center in Zimbabwe, an insurance company. And you connect via WhatsApp, so it's basically free as long as you've got a connection. And the guy demonstrating it to me here said, just start asking questions. Here's the number, click. I had a conversation with this insurance company. A human voice, first of all, asked me if I wanted to speak in English or in Shona and English. And I had a conversation with someone. I said someone.
Was it AI?
With a tool that sounded like a person having a conversation in English about my insurance needs. Wow. And this was a prototype, a demo. But we're that close. So there are societal threats about employment. But there are also societal threats about if it's that good, that's going to be the thing calling you saying you've won the 6,000 Pula prize.
Yeah.
And it can do it over and over and over again. It doesn't get tired. And it doesn't need feeding, doesn't need coffee. So I think, again, as a society, we need to reflect on how it's going to be used and how it needs to be regulated. But as consumers, it's an even more important area where we need to be briefed on it. And how we can, one of the interesting questions is like the reverse Turing test. The Turing test is how you can tell the difference between a robot and a human being.
Yeah.
And if you can't tell the difference, it's conscious. We need something which is the opposite, which what question should you ask to prove that someone's human when it calls you?
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. So competition time, what question should I ask a caller for me to prove
that is actually
a human
or a robot?
I don't know what the answer is, but just thought of that.
Yeah. Rich, we're coming towards the end. So I just wanted to press you around first, what excites you in terms of the future of consumer protection? What are the things that are happening that gives you hope with the tough questions I've been asking you, that are we losing the battle? And you've elucidated on what's in place, what's happening, but what sort of gives you a more excitement about what's coming?
Things that excite me. Yes, the technology thing. We discussed the technology and the emerging tools, the AI tools and so on that are useful. What really excites me and gives me enormous reward is when I see people acting as a community. Because we can use technology to fight scams. We can use the regulators to fight scams. We can use the same things to fight the abusive cell phone stores and so on, and all the shady lenders. But the biggest weapon we have is community. If as a community we unite to fight against this and we spread the word, we don't need official education programs, but if we go home and tell our family about what you heard on the podcast about cybersecurity, what you learnt in school today, tell your parents and your grandparents, start spreading that information around as a community. It doesn't have to be, it's free. It doesn't have to be the official government thing or us. Just as a community, start talking to people on the bus, talking to your colleagues at work, talking to your fellow students at school. As a community, if we start spreading the word, that's much more powerful than anything government can do, anything the technology can do, anything Facebook can do. It's very old-fashioned, but we are a social species. And that's how we learn things. We learn best from other people, whether it's authority figures, but it's often just your sister who is a bit smarter than you are, or your neighbor who's a teacher or works in technology. As a community, we need to start educating ourselves and our neighbors and our friends and the people we care about.
Wonderful.
That's the biggest single weapon we have.
And I see there's so many WhatsApp groups. The word goes around so fast. Apart from the social media, your Facebooks and all that, I see that in the WhatsApp groups. Because if you got guys that used to work together at the bank and they're together, all of a sudden someone sends, 300 people already know now. So it goes around.
It's exhausting.
That's the community. Yeah. It's exhausting, but for important stuff.
Yeah. My primary phone, I'm in a very small number of local WhatsApp groups where I live, just so we spread security.
Yeah, like neighborhood.
Although at the moment it's power cut again. We hate BPC. But I've got another phone which I use for watchdog purposes, covert stuff. And I have to start deleting because it's an older iPhone and it's beginning to struggle with the 1,000+ WhatsApp groups I'm in, all of them for scams.
Oh.
And it's just, you can create a WhatsApp group for nothing, really quickly, and you invite other people. And it's shocking how many of the people in those WhatsApp groups, their phone number, you can see their phone number, starts with +267. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people in these groups. And you can't tell the difference between the scammers. And it's easy enough to spoof your phone number. It's who knows who they really are. I was told yesterday I'm entitled to a loan from the UN Humanitarian Foundation of basically however much money I want, they'll give it to me. No, they won't. It's an advance fee scam. But they wouldn't be doing this if people didn't fall for it.
No, sure.
They wouldn't be wasting their time.
Sure.
But that's why it's incredibly important that if you see this happening on WhatsApp, go tell every member of your family. Go home and show them this is a scam, and do it to every group you're part of, work, school, home, your social club, your church, whatever. That community awareness is what we need.
Excellent. Anything else that's still burning in you that maybe we should have covered? Clever you.
I was going to say something political about we need to stop spending money at the moment. It's our economy can't take it right now.
Yeah.
Times are so tough. We need to start focusing on the things that really, really matter.
Yeah.
And that's health. I don't think we learned the lesson from COVID that we should have done, which is there's nothing more important than our nation's health. It's more important. My teacher friends are going to hate me for saying this. It's more important than education. Yeah. And very few things are more important than education.
That's the only thing you have. It's your health.
Yeah. If you're not healthy, you don't get to school.
Absolutely.
And your teachers don't go to school. So I just urge someone in power to say, look, we've got to be really strict at the moment.
Excellent.
And then as a community, we'll get through it.
Yeah. And then going back personal now, any book that you'd like to share with our viewers that has really made a difference to your life and you will just like to peep on it and see what it can hold for them. Anything?
Not a book as such, but I studied psychology at university. And one of the great things about my university was that, first of all, you had to do compulsory subsidiary subjects. So my degree is actually in psychology with biology and physics, which gave me a sort of broad scientific understanding. But a compulsory course in our first year was on research methodology, which sounds so boring. But it's basically the theory of knowledge. How do you know things? What is science? What's it about? How do you infer from what you see how the universe works? And the guy that kept on coming up was an Anglo-German philosopher called Karl Popper.
Karl Popper.
Yes.
Yeah,
go read your Popper.
Germans don't write very readable stuff. He was in England, isn't it?
Yes, and he was an exile from Germany. And the way he defined how you know things, how you know what is true, and it's things like falsifiability. And anyone who says something to you that can't be falsified, don't believe a word they're saying. So if someone comes up with a brand new medicine that will cure all your diseases, how would I prove that wrong is the question. And start thinking that way round. And his understanding of the theory of how we know things, epistemology, isn't it, was so profound. It really changed the way I thought about everything, about science, about politics, about listening very carefully to anyone who's trying to persuade you of something, how to think through what they're saying. So,
is there a specific book title? Or
no, not particularly. Just
go read Karl Popper. Okay.
And also following on from him, Anthony Grayling, A.C. Grayling, a philosopher, a humanist philosopher, who, again, really, he's been doing a lot of work recently since the last 20 years of politics and invasions of privacy, and we've been thinking very carefully about privacy and how important that is to us. I think we overlook, we say things like, I've got nothing to hide, I don't mind if someone bugs my phone. No, it's really important that we maintain privacy as a fundamental right. So Karl Popper, Anthony Grayling, and the other, as a child, as a teenager, is very dated, but there was a guy called E.R. Braithwaite.
E.R.
Braithwaite from Guyana in Central America. And there's a film in the 1960s called To Sir with Love.
Oh, To Sir with Love. We did that at school.
Yes, E.R. Braithwaite.
Yes, Braithwaite. Yeah, I remember that.
Black guy from Guyana, end up after the Second World War in the UK, teaching in a really rough school full of white kids.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier played him in the film.
Acted on the film, that's right.
And it's a really powerful story. And Braithwaite then wrote a later book because he became the Guyanese ambassador to the United Nations.
Oh, really?
Really impressive guy.
Okay.
And so it was during the 70s. He was invited by the apartheid government to visit South Africa as a black diplomat to go and see how well they were treating everyone. And there's all these lies about apartheid. And Braithwaite went there and he wrote a book about his experience in apartheid South Africa. And he named the book after the stamp he was given in his passport. Honorary white.
A black guy.
Yes. A black UN ambassador.
Yeah.
Had his passport stamped honorary white, which means he didn't have to, the pass laws didn't apply to him.
And obviously, given a special passport.
Yeah, so he went on all the tours, but at night he was visiting the ANC underground and visiting all the, and it changed my philosophy on politics. And it also, one of the great moral teachers I had was my mum, who I'm still with us. She's 83 now. And she was the one who got me to read To Sow With Love.
Okay.
Now, I should say part of that was that she had the most enormous crush on Sidney Poitier.
Like a lot of women.
Yes. And he was beautiful.
Yeah.
But there were so many people like that who've had those experiences. And there are people, we all talk about Martin Luther King and Madiba and so on, but the lesser known ones, like E.R. Braithwaite, really influenced me and my ideas and my philosophy. I know things have changed in the last 20. People don't read books as much. They maybe are reading things on their iPad and so on. Just so long as you read, so long as you learn new things. It doesn't have to be in printed books anymore, but learn something new every day. And the biggest single lesson I give people, particularly youngsters, if they ask me, is surround yourself with people who are smarter than you are and who know things you don't know.
Don't be intimidated by them.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
And just intelligence is absorbed through your skin by surrounding yourself with people who know things you don't know.
Wonderful. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Some wisdom coming out of this Englishman.
Ex-Englishman.
The ex-Englishman. Botswana now, eh?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I appreciate it. Guys, here we go. I hope you enjoyed this. Very specialized because our people are really vulnerable. You know, your uncles, your grandparents, even just your workers that work for you at your company, whether it's in banking, whether it's in the digital economy, as you said, there are billions that have been lost through scams. So I hope this session has been quite valuable for you. Please, if you need more information, we share quite a lot of articles also on my website, wabona.com, please go there. My LinkedIn page as well, Wabona Kangwanyani. Go there as we share more of this information as we try to make a better and better Botswana in Africa. Thank you so much and see you in the next episode. See ya.